Welcome to Executorium's Estate Talk.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We are here to provide resources and information to executors and estates on the challenges and topics one may encounter in the administration of an estate. Today's topic is estate sales. We're fortunate to have Lisa Kroese, president of the National Estate Sales Association, with us today. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Good to have you. Lisa is the president of the National Estate Sales Association. It is a 501c nonprofit promoting the estate liquidation industry. Lisa has over 300 personal property liquidation clients that have relied on her expertise. Her past appraisal and estate sale clients have included the estate of Gianni Versace, the estate of Jack and Elaine Palance, and the former chairman of the SEC, Arthur S. Leavitt Jr. You can find some of Lisa's expertise in her best-selling books on Amazon. Lisa is also an estate sale coach, offering one-on-one guidance to those starting and growing their estate sales companies. And you can find that on estatesalecoach.com. So the Girl Scouts and the Tournament of Roses, Pasadena Rotary, the Don Benito PTA all keep Lisa active volunteering, and her husband, Steve, and their daughters enjoy hiking and camping and heading to the beach on weekends. And I assume that includes Topanga State Park, Lisa?
Yeah, we love all the California state parks. We're members of the LA Zoo, which is not that far from our home in Pasadena. So there's a lot to do here, and we live by some great hiking trails. And I sometimes feel like, as much as we do, we still haven't seen enough.
Right. Let's jump into it, and let's talk about the common scenario an executor faces. House full of stuff, memories, personal property, items of value, collections perhaps, of course, things that maybe we don't need, maybe lots of stuff we don't need, maybe stuff we're thinking about throwing out. Now what, Lisa?
So my recommendation to executors is really to determine, do you need help from a professional pretty early on, and start interviewing them early in the process. One of the things that we see frequently in the industry is people kind of come into the home and start trying to sort and organize, and they a lot of times underestimate the scope of work. They may think, we can do this in a couple of weekends, with my cousins or whatever. And then come to find out that it takes a lot longer, and they have to get back to their own lives and their jobs, and maybe somebody from the kind of outside world could be helpful early on. Even if you don't have enough for that liquidator to do a sale, you still might get some really good pointers and resources. If you are going to need a sale, many estate sellers could be booked weeks or months in advance. So, definitely making your list and getting references of who in your area are good, reputable folks. You can check our website, NESA-USA.com. We have a map with a list of our members on there, so you can find them, reach out to them as well.
Okay, well, I think your point's well taken, that you were likely not to contact an estate sale company and have them there the next day ready to do your estate sale, that they do book up, especially some of them higher quality companies, more established companies. Estate sale companies don't just do estate sales for an executor with a decedent's personal property. They also do minimalizations, and they do transitions for people that are moving and relocating and downsizing. So I think it's a key point to get on their schedule and on their radar as soon as possible when this is imminent.
Yeah, there's a lot of demand for our services.
Okay. So for the uninitiated, uh, such as myself, when I was an executor and wandered into this situation, what is an estate sale?
So an estate sale is, anytime that you're inviting people into your home, or even if it's offsite in a different location, we're selling the personal property contents of an estate. And sometimes that is for an executor or an administrator. Sometimes it's for somebody that's moving or relocating or downsizing, or somebody's going into assisted living. I mean, you have an estate. If you have a home and you have personal property, those are items that are in your estate. So that's what an estate sale is. And there's no estate sale police out there telling people, you can't call this an estate sale, or you should call it whatever. I mean, some people say it's a moving sale if it's not somebody hasn't passed away, but not everybody. I mean, there's no hard and fast rules. Just because something says an estate sale, it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody has passed away. It could mean that, but not always.
So I've heard the term tag sale used. Is that the same as an estate sale? You kind of alluded to that just recently. Is it interchangeable? Is there any distinction between an
Yeah.
estate sale and a tag sale?
In many areas, people refer to them as tag sales instead of estate sales. Uh, Nationwide, I think the term estate sales is becoming more common and more in use. But it could be a tag sale, and people's thresholds of the types of sales. Sometimes people think, I can't have an estate sale because I don't have enough fancy things or whatever. But these kinds of sales, estate sales and tag sales, frequently we are selling, everything in the home, you know, um, vehicles, all of your everyday household object, reams of paper in an office, household cleaning supplies, appliances. Um, those things all add up to make an estate. And I think an industry survey that I saw a couple of years ago, the average gross proceeds from an estate sale is a little over $18,000. But really, when you think about, all of the items that many people have in a home, you can really easily see that adding up to that amount.
That does surprise me, and I find it interesting because I would have imagined things like cleaning supplies, or just perhaps ephemera or papers that I wouldn't think have any value. Feed that amount, and perhaps are part of the good margin that make it a successful estate sale in the end. So would the secret to not throw anything out, or to have the estate sale representative come and take a look and advise to that?
Yeah, definitely. It varies a lot by the estate seller that you have. But many estate sales, we really do. We'll sell everything that's there, unless it's garbage or dangerous or something like that. But we usually ask people, please don't throw things away, because we've seen where people think something is garbage and it's actually worth money, or it all adds up. So I wouldn't start trashing or donating things until you've spoken to, if you are planning to possibly have an estate sale or work with a professional. My recommendation for kind of your first steps to do as a family are identifying the things that are not going to be available to that liquidator to sell, so that you can inform them, when you meet with them, these are the things that we are going to be keeping in our family. And then these are the things that you're going to be selling. Everything else, until you've spoken with them, I would let them determine, what kinds of things they want you to sell or donate or leave behind or take away. Speak with them about it, because really it runs the gamut. There's no one way to run an estate sale, so it really depends on who you're working with. What things they're going to put in your sale. Personally, me, I try to put every single thing. I was like, don't throw anything out. I don't care what it is. Refrigerator magnets, we'll sell them, right?
Okay. Sure, absolutely. Why not? So generally, starting from the end of my next question, uh, and of course, every estate is different. Every estate sale company will be different. Are we looking to have the property just ready for complete sale and liquidation, and that at the end of the estate sale, it'll be empty and with the proceeds of the estate sale in the hands of the estate sale company, uh, and then the final transaction between the client and the estate sale company, and walking away from an empty house? Is that kind of the end goal?
Yeah. And many estate sale contracts will cover, you want to make sure that in your contract you're covering what exactly they're doing. I've done sales for families that have said, we just want you to do the sale, sell what you can, and then leave the rest for us, to take care of. Other families say, not only do we want it completely, empty, we want it cleaned and, ready for the real estate transaction to happen next. So find out from your company that you're going to be using, what happens after the sale is over. And that should all be outlined in your contract, exactly what the expectations are for how the property is going to be, how the real property is going to be transferred back over to you. What condition is it going to be in?
So from that point, moving all the way back to the point where I, as an executor, am looking at the executorium.com website, or perhaps this podcast, or the archive of this podcast, and saying, hey, I think this will take care of the contents of mom's house. I should look into some estate sales companies as options, and vet a few of them and interview a few of them. Talk to me about that. How do I begin that process?
Sure. Well, NESA is a resource to find people on NESA. We have a code of ethics that all of our members adhere to. Getting references from realtors, estate planning attorneys. If you have an attorney you're working with, many of them will know who does sales in your area and will give referrals to people that are experienced and have probably a reputation in your area for doing good work. So those are some good resources to look at. Yeah, I mean, realtors see a lot. If your realtor's, working with you already, or you're looking for one, attorneys, senior, like assisted living places and things like that. Many of them will have resources like that available to be able to provide references for service providers in your area.
Okay. So take me through a timeline once you've decided and you've contracted with well-researched and a estate sale company you feel comfortable with, and you've signed the contract, understanding all estate sales and sale companies are going to be different and have different processes. What does that time frame look like? Take me up until and including the estate sale itself.
Sure. Well, I mean, for me, when I am meeting with a family, usually we're discussing at that time, when we'll be able to book their sale. Frequently, I'll have dates in mind of when I would be able to put them into my calendar. And for us, usually most estates would be a 1 to 2 week setup for us, for our crew. So that's time that, we need to be able to work in the home to get it ready. And many times, even people who had been to sales or been to my sales even, and then would hire me to do something, and would say, oh, everything's ready for you. You just have to go in and price. And, my crew and I would go in and be like, oh, this is not at all ready. Like, it's not at all how we set things up. There's, valuable things where we wouldn't have valuable things. There's, so people, very often underestimate the scope of work of how much time it does take to get these sales ready. We're basically turning people's homes into a boutique store. Some people do a very fast sale and they just leave everything in place. That's going to be, sometimes there are liquidators that operate that way. But many times liquidators will be really organizing everything. They're going to know everything that's there. They want to find if your family member had a home office and one day they put a coin in there or coin collection amongst papers to hide it or something like that. We want to be the ones that find that. We don't want shoppers to come in and find it. So we're really going through with a fine tooth comb. And that does take some time. We're experienced, so we can do it faster than a family can do it. And I remind people that, for you in your family's home, every time you open a drawer, you're looking at something, maybe it's triggering a memory for you. And that takes a lot of time to process and look at things. And in that way, for us, we'll open something and say like, oh, this should be in the bedroom, or, oh, this, goes with that set, like, oh, I found a cream and sugar and now I found a platter, in a different place. And now I have the beginning of a complete set of maybe sterling or sterling plate tea service that is going to sell for more if I can put all the pieces of it together. So we recognize those things. We know those things, go together. And some families do. Some families might remember, oh, I remember grandma had a tea set, out on the coffee table when company came over. But some families might not. They might have never seen that all put together and might not realize that it goes together.
So let's thank you for that. Let's take it into for the benefit of the executor, the person considering a estate sale for liquidation of the real property, the home. It's emotional. It's a difficult undertaking. You mentioned how the benefit of having an estate sale company is the expediency. That when you're going through the things, it's different than going through the memories, and I can attest to that. There's certainly the benefit of not having the emotional attachment for being productive. I could been known to spend several hours over a single box myself. So that said, take me right up to the day or days, if that's the case, of an estate sale. Walk me through that. Should an executor or a member of the family be on site?
Many companies will address this in their contract. Many of us prefer not to have a family member there during the setup and during the sale itself. And it's not because that we're hiding anything or anything like that. We just have to work and our crew has to work. And a lot of times for the family to be there, it slows things down, or family members, will talk to the crew, and the crews very frequently, we're people persons. And so a lot of times we'll have in our contracts specifying, hey, when I'm done setting up, I don't mind, come and look and see the work, and you'll see all the photographs. But it can kind of hurt and slow down the setups for us. And it can also, hinder the sale, having family members there during the sale. Shoppers kind of feel uncomfortable. I had it in my contract always that, the family shouldn't be there. A couple of times people would come anyway. One sale that I was conducting, the gentleman kept saying, these were my mommy's things, old gentleman, like in his 60s or 70s, and shoppers were leaving, and I said, you have to go, we can't, we're not going to sell
Sure.
things like this. Another time I was conducting a sale and we were negotiating a price on something, and the woman had said, she had nowhere to go and she couldn't, she wouldn't interfere, she would just sit there, and she saw us talking about something, she knew it was expensive. I think we were going to get like $1,200 for it when we were negotiating. And she yelled out across the room, "I won't take less than $900 for that." And, so, okay, well, now she just told our customer that we could sell it for $300 less than we were going to sell it for. She thought she was helping,
Oops.
but, it was the beginning of a conversation with her, like, okay, well, these are places you could go. You could go to the movies, you could go to the library, you
Yeah.
could go to the park, the weather's nice. Many of us have found from experience that the way that our contract is that way for a reason, and we're professionals. And if it's really important to you to be at your family's estate sale, then maybe you don't need an estate sale professional. Maybe your family wants to run your own sale, and the aunts and uncles are going to be there, and they're going to be the staff, and they're going to be the salespeople, and they're going to do the research. It's certainly an option for people, but many professionals, and it will be covered in your contract. When you work with somebody, don't work with somebody if you don't have a written contract. I mean, I've heard of stories of people saying, I just wrote the percentage down on the back of my business card and told them this was what the percentage was going to be, and that's our contract. Okay, well, that is not a good contract. That's not a
No.
good way to do business. So make sure you have a good contract that outlines everything that you're expected to do, and that they are expected to do as well. It protects both sides.
I always look at a contract as a beginning of a conversation. So would you recommend that, you may disagree, of course, but would you recommend a client, bring to your attention anything that's they're not comfortable with, or adding things that they like to see? Question I have, based on your story about the lady that yelled across the room, is, are reserves generally part of an estate sale? I not knowing, I just am asking that innocently.
Mhm. Yeah, so it varies a lot by company. Some companies allow reserves on some items or maybe a couple of items. Definitely, you should be working with somebody that you can have a comfortable conversation with. I always, answer all questions about provisions in the contract, and I explain the contract to people when I do a consultation and we're ready to sign a contract. I explain point by point what's in the contract and what we're both agreeing to. I don't just say, "Oh, this is the rate and sign here."
Yes.
I explain what's in there, which takes more time for us to go through. But I found that then if something comes up later, I could say, "Hey, remember we talked about this in the contract, that you weren't going to be interfering with the setup, or grandpa wasn't going to be coming over and taking things that we had set up." As some families, it's particularly, sometimes people have a hoarder situation that they're trying to move a hoarder, downsize out, and we would set up and then come back, and that's like the shopping experience, because they come through at the end of the day, and it's like stuff they've never seen. They haven't seen it in 15 years or whatever.
Sure.
Like, oh yeah, I want that again. Or they see a price tag on something. Well, I didn't want that set of Fostoria, stemware, but now that I see that it's $20 a glass, now I want it.
Sure.
So all kinds of things that we address in our contracts. My contract specifies, if you want to take something back, that's fine, but our commission applies. So I don't want to keep you from having something, but of course we take the sale knowing that we're going to find things that you might have sold in a garage sale for 25 cents that could be worth $25.
Mhm.
So that's what we do when we're setting up the estate. So definitely, you should be working with somebody, I think, in my opinion, that you can talk to honestly. It's a very emotional time for the family, and you should be able to, in both directions, have open and honest conversations. I had one sale that, the lady's husband had passed away, and she was planning to let us set up, and she was going to move in and stay with a friend for a couple of weeks while we set up. And she had a whole bunch of property that was in the garage, and we were going to, stage that and move it into the house. And the day we got there to set up, she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to be here. I'm going to stay in the bedroom." And we weren't going to be able to stage the house the way that we had planned, because she was changing what she told us. And I was really upset, because I knew that the decision she was going to make, were, if I let her do those things. I had told her, that I thought we were going to do like about 12 to 15,000. And I was like, this is, if I have to sell things out of the garage instead of in the house, it's a garage sale now. And
Sure.
I was like, she's going to cut the sale in half, basically. So I thought about what to do. And, my contract would have allowed me to cancel her sale. And I just went home after that first day, and I called her and I said, I'm really concerned about the sale, because we talked about how much the sale was going to generate. And, now what you're planning to do is going to change all of that. And she fully understood. And later, after her sale was successful and we did what we said we were going to do, um, she gave us the space to work, and she went back to her original plan. And she said, "I could tell how concerned you were about the sale and about it being successful, and that, you had told me you were going to generate, this amount, this estimate that you had, and that, you called me and you really cared about it. And so you should both be able to have conversations together like that. You should be able to tell your estate liquidator, I know I agreed to this, but it's hard for me," or whatever. I mean, most of us who run companies doing this, we know how hard it is for the families. And we have experience. I've had people where I've given out referrals to grief counseling, and, all kinds of things, where I'm like, we really do want to be able to help and have you feel comfortable and have you understand the process, and the reason why we're doing things. I mean, the sale has to be successful for both sides. We're businesses, so we need it to be successful for us and for you.
Well, there's so much information in that, Lisa, and one of my larger takeaways is that, well, there's several. Having somebody you can work with and communicate with is very important, and that goes to the beginning of, one, you're vetting your candidate estate sale companies, to keep that in mind. Another piece being that, estate sales companies are businesses. They are there to make money and put food on their tables. The important thing about the commission structure is that your interests are aligned. Commission, whether it be 10% or 33% or 50%, is more on a $20,000 sale than it is on a $10,000 sale. So your interests are aligned. And you want to give the experts who have the experience, if you're an executor or you're the person in charge of the estate sale from the estate side, you want to give them the best chance of success.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
And
following that, their advice and the context that they've been there before, um, and with all due respect to the emotions that may be invoked by seeing the home disrupted, to put that aside, as is your responsibility, and see this through, uh, for a successful liquidation, as hard as that may be to bear at the time.
absolutely. And I do recommend to consumers, when you're looking for a liquidator, and you're interviewing people and having them come through and look at the estate, um, ask them what they think that your sale will generate in revenue, because I saw many times where people would find out about my reputation and want me to do their sale, but then they would also interview another company that didn't have as much experience, and say, well, you're telling me that your commission is 40%. This other lady will do it for 20%. So I want you, but I want you to do it for this other lady's price. And I would say, well, the reason she can do it for less is she doesn't have insurance, she doesn't have workers comp. They don't spend as much time organizing the sale, and that generates more. So I had times where people would say, well, what is the amount? And they would wind up netting, even after paying me double the other person's commission, they would net more than what the other person told them the entire sale would generate. So it's not just, oh, what is your percent, and go with whoever is cheaper, because 20% of 5,000 is less than 40% of 18,000, right?
Sure. Well,
Right.
I think that's all very, very important. And you bring up an excellent point about, workers' comp, insurance. If you don't, if the company you bring into your house to operate an estate sale doesn't have insurance, and so we have a slip and fall, uh, the estate will be liable potentially. So, check that out. That's worth a few points on a commission for sure. I'd encourage executors to ask for the certificate. I don't think that's unreasonable in any circumstance. Professionally, I've had to, produce certificates,
Mhm.
many times as a matter of course, and any professional company wouldn't be, would have to be, uh, of course, forthright in from the get go, and in assuring that they have, the right insurance is required. But producing a certificate to prove it is not an unreasonable request by an executor.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have from our insurance companies, when we get our policies in place, we have the ability to, put the estate as named insured, for our events. We work with companies that, specifically know the kind of business that we have, and they know that we go into people's homes and are setting up estate sales for the public to come in. Your contract will should identify. I mean, I've seen competitors' contracts that say, we do not have insurance. Any claims processed are going to be coming in, through your homeowner's policy, etc. So all of those things should be outlined. If it's not covered in your contract, you need to have it, that conversation, and have it in the contract, and identify it. If it's not addressed in the contract, I would presume that they don't have it, that they're not carrying business insurance.
Define a good experience for an estate sale. If I'm an executor, what's my end goal? What am I working towards here? Obviously a good, check that can be put into the estate bank account and distributed to the heirs. We'd rather make more money than less money. I'm human nature. So define a good experience, Lisa. What should estate executors expect?
I think that executors can definitely benefit from having somebody else who has experience doing all of this physical labor. There's a lot of labor, there's a lot of cleaning. You start moving things around in a home, even the tidiest of homes, if you have to, once you move things, there's going to be dust behind pieces of furniture. There's all kinds of stuff that, it's kind of a dirty job that we will do. And furthermore, you get peace of mind, right? I mean, what if there's something in the estate that you're not familiar with, but a liquidator is familiar with? They know the market, they see these things, on a regular basis, and they know the values of things. So I think that, using us gives you a lot of peace of mind. It relieves a lot of the burden on the family so that they can concentrate on other things. I mean, you know, you're dealing with the loss of a loved one, and then now you have to come and, pick through every item in the china cabinet and clean up a decade's worth of dust. My crew used to call when we would be setting things up, when we find, uh, you know, plates and cups and things, and we would have little things we'd be cleaning off, and we'd say, oh, it's vintage Thanksgiving, right? Like, you're cleaning up all these, years and years of, a lot of times people, they're older, they don't see as well, they don't realize the way that they did 20 years ago.
Sure.
So there's a lot of physical work that we do. And then there's a lot of knowledge that we have, and you can kind of just rest assured, like, okay, I've handed this over to somebody that is experienced, and they have people that, do this professionally. They're going to do all of that labor and all of the research, and make sure that items go where they're supposed to go. Sometimes I had sales where we would run a sale and we would have things that would come out and go into auction. So, you may not necessarily know that, your grandpa bought a painting at a garage sale, for $200 25 years ago, and it needs restoration, but it's worth $8,000. You might just presume, oh, this is just this dusty old thing in the garage, and I'll sell it for $20. You don't want that to happen for your estate.
Sure.
You get peace of mind, when you work with somebody who has a good reputation, and who is experienced, and does the legwork for you.
Right. The value there, the experience is pretty obvious. So that leads me to uh, tell us a little bit about the National Association of Estate Sales.
Right. NESA, the National Estate Sales Association, is a 501c6 nonprofit. And we are member driven. So we represent the estate liquidation industry and promote the estate liquidation industry. Our members have a code of ethics that we follow, which I think is the strongest that I've seen. And we have information on our back end for members, so that they can benefit from, let's say they have an estate that has some kind of special collection. We have some videos and things like that, talking to people, and providing nationwide resources for people. If there's an estate that maybe has a great wine collection, there's information for them to help them identify those unique situations that come up, or special situations that come up. And it's a way that you can look on and see our map and determine, is there somebody in your area that you can work with? Or if not, reach out. Feel free to, you can reach out to me, and I can try to help you find somebody if they're not a member yet. We have connections within the industry. A couple of times people have communicated with me from an area. Well, we don't have an estate seller right there, but I can help try to find somebody. So we have a lot of consumer resources, consumer education on our website as well, to help people with, just learning about the estate sale industry. That's our goal, is to promote, not just the businesses within it, but the industry itself, so that people really understand. Many people have heard of estate sales, but maybe have never been to one. I mean, you might see a sign, but going into somebody's house, I mean, it's kind of intimidating, right? I mean, if you're not used to that and you haven't experienced it before. So we have a lot of information and resources to kind of demystify things and explain things to consumers. This is what we do. This is what you can expect from us. We want customers who are clients who are hiring estate sale companies to have a good experience with the industry, and to feel like, we've helped people relieve their burden. I mean, many people that I've worked with, and I've done coaching, and spoken to other estate liquidation owners, many get into it because they sincerely like helping people. They like being useful, and they like helping people. And there are a lot of really great small business owners who have their own businesses. There's franchises as well. But there are a lot of great people who get into the industry. Maybe they started out just by helping a relative, and then, found that it was just rewarding for them. I mean, it's a very rewarding career.
Well, it certainly takes a certain type, because you're going to be in a space that's at a very personal time in someone's life, and in the life of the family as well. So, I think that is it's due all consideration for that being a very difficult and a uh, a moment that requires a certain touch. So, anything else to add, Lisa? We've been up and down and all over estate sales.
Absolutely. I think that, definitely check out NESA-USA.com. That's our website. If you have questions, feel free to email us, reach out to us there. And it's been really a pleasure talking to you today. And I hope people learned a little bit, and that it's not such a big mystery. My husband works for JPL, and we say in our house, well, what I do is not rocket science, so it can be kind of intimidating, but it's definitely not rocket science. And you can do it. You can find somebody who will be able to help you through this major transition, and then you'll be able to focus on other things, taking care of your family and other things that you need to take care of.
Very good. Well, thank you, Lisa Kroese, the president of the National Estate Sales Association. I want to encourage executors to check out the consumer resources at the NESA website, NESA-USA.com. Correct?
Yes, you got it.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Next week on Estate Talk, we have Staging Your Estate's Real Property with the Real Estate Staging Association Director, Shel Broadnax. So until then, thank you very much for joining us on Estate Talks.